Hello there, this is James and you're watching Tixee Live. And a very good afternoon to all of you, and all of you a very happy Tuesday. In today's program, I want to sort of follow on from what I was talking about this morning in reference to the Nord Stream 1 situation and gas to Europe. Plus, a follow on from a little bit more about obviously the sort of recent worries that a certain massive retailer has done, as well as discuss some recent economic data which has come out within the last couple of minutes. But before we get into this, don't forget these little programs or these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should ever be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own diligence, and of course know the risks at hand before entering any trade. With that out of the way, let's get started. Even there's a lot to go through today, and there are a lot of things I want to talk about and discuss. And as you know, those of you who are kind enough to join me, reality kicked in this morning when Russia has basically reduced the capacity of gas supply coming from Nord Stream 1 down from 40% down to 20%. Now, we sort of anticipated this happening, but still, it was a little bit of a shock to Europe. And as I mentioned today as well, the European Commission was holding a meeting today in Brussels with a number of energy ministers to get a certain deal through to limit consumption of gas throughout the bloc to 15%. And they reached an agreement. They did. EU energy ministers have reached an agreement to voluntarily reduce gas consumption by 15% from August to March. This is what they had to say about the matter. In effort to increase EU security of energy supply, member states today reached a political agreement on voluntary reduction of natural gas and natural gas demand by 15% this winter. They carried on. The purpose of the gas demand reduction is to make savings ahead of winter in order to prepare for possible disruptions of gas supplies from Russia that is continuously using energy as a weapon. Now, the deal also states that gas demand reduction, would become mandatory if a union alert is announced. So if there's a union alert announced, every single member of state had to keep to 15% consumption, no matter what. However, and this is where we come to the crux of the issue, in my opinion. However, countries which are not connected to other member state gas pipelines will be exempt from any mandatory gas reduction. So those not directly connected to the gas pipeline, they don't have to, they're not mandatory kept to having to do it to 15%. Countries who also request rules to be relaxed if they exceed their gas storage filling targets, so as in if they saved up plenty of gas, they can be exempt of this as well. And here is the kicker. Is the one which I don't quite fathom as well. This is the other one. Countries hooked up to the European electricity system are also exempt from these mandatory reductions if a union alert is announced. And here's a list of just some of those countries who are linked up to the European electricity system. These countries include Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Spain, etc. That's just some of the countries connected to this European electricity system. So it appears to me that this sort of deal is so watered down, because I know for the fact, because like I say, if you look back 2 months ago when they tried to do this oil deal against Russia about banning 98% of Russian oil. It took them ages to get this deal through because Hungary, for example, didn't agree with it, and a number of nations who weren't agreeing with it. So I'm surprised they got this deal through as soon as they did, but till I saw the fine print, because basically what we're saying is like the countries which are so reliant on it are exempt from these for having mandatory reductions. They all agree they're going to try and do it now, but if they're forced to do it, they're exempt for not being forced to do it. And these are the countries who are very much in trouble with this situation. Germany, France, Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic. They are the ones who are really generally feeling the strain from this. So they're exempt from this deal, from the mandatory part of the deal. They're going to try and do it to 15%, but they're exempt from it. But so it just really sort of appears to me, and in some ways, this deal is trying to show that the European Union are united against Russia. They're one group. They can't be split. We're united, we're together, we're in on this together, we're going to, yes. However, it comes to me a little bit like it's just, it's trying to be like a sign or a sign of strength or a show of strength instead of actually coming up with a realistic solution. Because let's face it, the European Commission, they personally believe it's just a matter of time till Russia turns the taps off completely. So, yeah, it's a very watered down deal. I really think it's more of a sign of strength than actually coming up with a proper solution, especially with all those exemptions. And on the back of this, because of the back of this, German firms who are really struggling are attempting to reduce gas use, but have warned that by saving, the only way to save the gas use they have is by cutting production. And the companies which have said this, these companies include the automobile, chemicals, and engineering industry. And that's a huge part of Germany's GDP. It's a gigantic part of Germany's GDP. And don't forget, last week we had a shocking German manufacturing PMI, which came in at 49.2. If you look at it so far this year, okay, let's go through the numbers. Okay, this illustrates how bad PMI. Remember what I say: any number under 50 is very bad news. Any number above 50 is, well, if it's 50, it's no change. A plus above 50 is considered good. Okay, January 59.8, February 58.4, March 56.9, April 54.6. May 54.8, June 52, and like I say, last week, 22nd of July, 49.2. And now we got companies saying they're going to have to even look at lowering production even more to keep the minimum gas use. Now, I know Germany, and I'm talking about Germany because Germany's the powerhouse of the European Union. It's the strongest economy in the European Union. Okay, and if they're really struggling now, I know they're trying to go back and switch on their coal factories to produce electricity. It's taking a little bit a while, and plus, don't forget, they're also one of the nations committed to the environmental schemes as well. But they're having to do this to try and save it. But this is seriously becoming a real big problem. A real big problem. And let's have a look at the euro, okay, what the euro's done since this deal's gone through, but since really, like I said, reality is kicked in about the state of affairs. Sorry, throat a little bit dry. Let's have a look at the euro. Okay, so this is where the euro currently trades at the moment, okay? 1.02451, okay? Beginning of today, when I was doing my morning broadcast, it was trading around these levels, 1.02310. Yes, under that key level, which I believe it needs to break before I could ever consider it anywhere bullish, in my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. It's not trading price. But since then, since that morning, it's now really necessarily come under humongous pressure, and it's currently trading at 1.01281. Now, okay, yeah, admittedly, this is reality kicking in about the gas situation, that they are seriously, up against it. But we are seeing dollar strength as well. and we'll look at some other pairs. But I'll tell you the reason why we're seeing dollar strength at the moment as well. And that is, we did have, and this is why I went on a little bit later than normal. I wanted to go on after this information came out. We did have the US consumer confidence announced, okay, at 95.7 versus 97.2. And that's the lowest reading in US consumer confidence since February 2021. So over a year ago. At the same time, we've had new home sales announced at 590,000 versus 660,000. Those of you kind individuals who joined me yesterday, you know, I was discussing the potential housing crisis I could see occurring in the United States. So this is just another sign of that. Okay, as well as that today, to put a bit of dollar strength, and we'll look at some other currency pairs in a minute as well, which has put a damper on it and give dollar strength. The IMF has cut world GDP to 3.2% this year, down from 3.6% forecast you had back in April. So yeah, these are the sort of underlining doom and gloom moments we're having at the moment. But like I say, the euro, majority of the pressure is the reality of this gas situation is beginning to bite. Now, let's have a quick look at the sterling as well, because the sterling has come under a little bit of dollar pressure, not as dramatic as the euro by a long shot. It still was, it fell below that key level, 1.20034. It's since managed to recover and is now hovering just above it. On other matters, okay, as well as that, let's look at the dollar yen. The dollar yen, okay, yes, still a bit of dollar strength, especially if you look on the longer term, but we know this anyway, because obviously the BOJ is not going to do anything. But we can see dollar strength really, again, let's have a look at, for example, gold, of course. Gold, okay, slightly lower than it was this morning, but currently trading $1,719.18, still under that level, that key level of $1,727. Now, here's the thing with gold. Don't forget, those of you who kind of left to join me in the past, I have talked a little bit about this. I do believe that though we have got dollar strength and high interest rates at the moment, when we get more and more signs of recession, then the yellow metal will start getting its shine back. So I'm still thinking, we've got some key levels to break, but I'm completely convinced the bull run's going to begin. But I am watching it very, very closely. So let's look at some other news, other developments today as well. Walmart even. Those of you again who kind of joined me this morning, I did announce that obviously after the market closed, they came out and they said their profits were, again, they forecast their profits to be less than 15%. Excuse me, this year than compared to the year before. And the knock-on effect, which we're going to have a look at now, is what's happened to the market. And I'll tell you the reason why Walmart is thinking this, and why we're seeing a changing in buying habits, and why a number of other firms, retail firms, are now in the spotlight. So let's have a quick look at Walmart. What happened when they opened? Don't forget, like I say, they said this after the market was closed. So let's have a quick look. Okay. Right. Like I say, this morning, when we were talking about it, it closed at 132. Okay. It opened, it's currently trading now 120.65. So huge gap. And currently, like I say, it's finding a bit of buying around $119. But like I say, it still remains pretty strained at the moment. And if we look at other companies, other retail companies, don't forget Walmart is the biggest retail company in the world. If you look at Costco, another US retail giant, they opened with a gap, okay? They opened the gap lower, currently trading at $517.87. And the other one I want to quick look at is Target, okay? They also, because in the same sector, the retail market, and because of the back of that, well, this is it. That's a good question. What was this? Amazon announcement would be interesting. Yes, okay. This is it's my point. I'm going to come to very good point. Very good point. I will come to that. Thank you. Excuse me. But yeah, so this is why the market is looking at retailers in particular. And that brings me on to a point which I was about to make. But thank you very much for getting ahead of me. Great minds think alike. This what brings me on to this. Amazon, which is in focus tomorrow. Now, the reason, excuse me, my throat's so dry as the aircon. Now, the reason why Walmart was saying that they're not going to hit their profit targets is because buying habits, as that young lady rightly said, has changed a lot. A lot of people are putting their money into groceries and petrol, the essentials. They are not purchasing the usual clothing items, electronic goods, things of this nature, things for the home. All their money, due to the fact of inflation and a slowdown in the economy, is they're going into what they need to survive, as in food, as in petrol. This is why the likes of Walmart and Target and Costco is now under the microscope. Don't forget Walmart, and both the Target made the same issue, because sales on these items, clothings and things as this, was up a couple of years ago during lockdown, because nobody could do anything, so they were buying things. Now they got stuff to do, and now they can't afford to do these things. They bought so much inventory, so many inventories, thinking that demand was going to keep going, but demand's not. These are why some of these companies are now missing their profit target. And Amazon, is massive, so their earnings is due to the 28th on Thursday, and it's going to be fascinating to see what Amazon's earnings says. Does it meet anywhere close to expectation or what they forecasted? Or is it going to be way, way below, like Walmart, like Target, like Costco? Because why? Because we simply can't afford to buy those luxury items like we used to. At the moment, with inflation as high as it is, and with economic slowdown the way it is, we're spending money on what we need to survive: food and petrol. So Amazon is going to be incredibly fascinating to watch on the 28th of July. Will it follow the same direction as Walmart, Target, and Costco? Plus, don't forget, we have earnings tonight. We have Alphabet, which is due at after the market close, unfortunately, so we're going to have to wait till tomorrow to see what happens there. Then we have Microsoft is expected to announce their earnings today as well after the market close. Alphabet, I'm going to be very fascinated in, because don't forget, Twitter and Snap Incorporated both disappointed the market, had lesser earnings because people were not spending so much, or companies not spending so much on online advertising. So it'll be fascinating to see what Alphabet does, because Google is not all their business model is all online advertising, but a big chunk of it does come from that. So that's going to be fascinating to see how that opens. Other major events, of course, we've got US durable goods, Fed interest rate decision, which is massive. I will be doing some sort of form of special on that tomorrow. Fed monetary statement, German CPI, US GDP, German GDP. Be interesting to see how that comes in. EU GDP and EU CPI. And like I've already mentioned, we have got big earnings season as well. Alphabet tonight, Microsoft tonight, Meta, which is Facebook tomorrow, Apple on the 28th. Be interesting to see what their earnings are, because they're part of the luxury brand. Good. Don't forget, Apple mentioned last week that they're in the future going to start cutting down on their investment into certain product lines and other new products, and cut back on their hiring. So be interesting to see what Apple has to say on the 28th as well. So that would be fascinating. But anyway, we've got a big week ahead of us. Please come and join me. Don't forget, I'll do a special tomorrow. It's going to be a bit different because I won't be in the studio, but hopefully be just as exciting. And then, of course, I'm going to be doing a watch along on the US GDP, because I think that's going to be a massive event, especially after we find out what the Fed does tomorrow with interest rates. And I will be doing EU CPI, because I'm going to find that fascinating to see how that comes in, especially with ECB taking their time on interest rates. I know they did 50 last week, but still, they don't store me with confidence of them being overly aggressive or overly hawkish for that matter. Don't forget, as the market currently stands, FTSE is currently at 0.17%, DAX currently trading negative 0.94%, EUROSTOXX 50 currently trading at negative 0.54%. So yeah, that's how the market stands currently at the moment. Is there any questions at all? Anybody else like to say anything or talk? Or just say hello if you like. So my throat is really dry. That was a good, some very valid points, by the way, by that young lady there. And it's led me nicely into what I was about to talk about as well. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. Okie dokie. If there is no questions, don't forget, if you think of a question later, you can put it in the comments below on either Facebook or YouTube. And I will see the question and I will reply to it next time I go online. So please bear that in mind as an option. Hey to you too. It's very nice. Thank you. Thank you. Hey. Thank you for coming. So yeah, I will answer the question next time I'm online. Now, don't forget, I'll be back online tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. UTC, and tomorrow around maybe this time, maybe a bit earlier, 1 p.m. UTC to cover the US session. I'll be fascinated to see what Alphabet announces tonight and how the market reacts tomorrow. So please come and join me for the morning session, because I find that's going to be fascinating and really interesting. Plus, I will do a special, like I said, on the US interest rate decision. Like I say, it won't be in my studio, but it'll be just as exciting. So please come along and join me for that. On that note, if you're watching me on Facebook and if you quite enjoyed this little episode, by all means, give us a follow. If you've been watching me on YouTube and again, you quite enjoyed this episode, found it interesting and useful, subscribe if you like. Hit the notification button so you know next time I'm going live. If you enjoyed this little video and found it interesting, useful, and you put up with me, my over-the-top enthusiasm for the market, which I cannot help because I love the markets, then give me one of those. You can see I've got a like already, but give me one of those. It's nice to know that you like what I do. Anyway, till next time, don't forget, these little videos are for educational purposes only, and in no way whatsoever should be taken as financial advice. I always suggest you do your own research and do your own due diligence. And of course, know the risks at hand before entering any trade. Till next time, every single one of you out there, trade safe.